people. I know, and we'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. I had the most amazing conversation with this doctor at the Huntsman Cancer Institute. I've never had a conversation like this with a doctor before. It was spiritual in nature in the end, because there is a connection between our spirit and our bodies. There is. And if we allow ourselves to be sucked into anger and hatred, we are in trouble. We are done. If you're writing something on a blog or whatever, would you do yourself a favor? Before you hit enter on your computer, ask yourself this. Reread it. Is that who I want to be? The only time that you have a chance to take something back is before you send it. You can say all kinds of stuff. Believe me, I'm the king of saying stupid things. You can say all, and you can never take it back. But as you're writing it, you can take it back. Read it. On 8/28 and after, and in the future, I will always say how proud I am to call you my friends and my fans. I am proud. But the hatred in this country is getting worse and worse. I believe this with everything in my heart. This audience is going to be a part of the solution, not the problem. Get out and get away from the problem. Do not be a part of it. Do not be a victim, and do not create victims. We want to be the people that will pull butts out of the fire. And you can't do that if you're filled with hatred. It is a disease, and it is very, very contagious. We hide behind these pseudonyms. We hide behind these masks now, especially on the internet. Stop hiding. Be who you are. Take responsibility for what you do and what you say. It is time to decide who we are, who you are. Will you allow yourself to be subhuman? Or will you strive to be superhuman? My 5-year-old son the other day was playing a video game with my wife's phone. I hate these darn video games. And I quite honestly, to be real honest with you, we let him play with them now from time to time because it's easier. I hate myself for that. We get busy and we let him play with a video game. He doesn't have video games at home, but sometimes when we're traveling, we'll let him play on the phone. Well, he was lost in his own little world playing a game, and he passed right by a very good friend of ours and wasn't really even engaged. We had just gone over to dinner at this friend's house, and he had the phone. He had picked it off the counter, and we were saying goodbye. Now, granted, he's 6. But he was completely distracted and oblivious. I wanted to take that phone and toss it into the garbage. I don't know why we even have the cell phones. All these things were supposed to make our lives easier. Is your life easier? Is it? Think about all the things that we have in our car now. We have everything there. We have a phone, we have radio, we have news, we have GPS. Some of us have video in our cars, so when we go around, we're driving around with the kids, they're watching a video. What is this? We're disconnecting from ourselves. We're driving around our living rooms. So of course, if somebody cuts you off and you're in your living room, of course you're going to be a little PO'd. We're walking around with our iPods on. We're oblivious to humans all around us. We're missing the point. Human connection. If you take the subway or you ride the bus, does anybody even bother saying hi to you even more? Do you? It is probably considered rude or creepy to sit next to somebody and start a conversation with them. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody is being nice and you're like, what the hell's wrong with them? I have been. Doesn't that tell you something? We've got to start noticing the people around us. We are becoming isolated. We are expanding what we consider to be our private space into areas that are never meant to be private. Intimate conversations now on text messages. People I've seen this, and if you have teenagers, I'll bet you've seen it too. One teenager standing here, the other one standing here, and they're texting each other. We are interacting less and less in the reality that is right in front of us. Instead, we're choosing a fantasy world on screens. And we're changing because of it. We've got to connect with things that are real again. Tonight, I want to present you with a choice. When we come back, it's time we decide. Who are we? Back in a minute.
Beck, check his credentials before you enroll. Glenn Beck University, where every degree is a BS degree.
Oh, no.
Enrollment has begun for Beck's unaccredited online college, which will peddle his unaccredited offline nonsense.
If you come straight from Pool Academy right to Beck University, can those credits transfer?
Progressives sure do have something to learn. The second semester of Beck University starts today. They might want to take a class or two and try it out. Sign up for school at glennbeck.com for your Insider Extreme account.
There is a quote that is running through my mind, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically what it is what one generation tolerates, the next will embrace. We are tolerating stuff that should not be embraced. We are detaching ourselves from one another. We're losing our human connection. Do you remember when President Obama said that there were doctors that were amputating people's feet because they could make more money, the diabetes patients? And I thought, I've never, ever heard that story. Where? What kind of doctor would do that? Well, it is happening. It's not happening in America. It's happening in Greece. Their government-run healthcare system is now doing amputations because it is cheaper than paying for special footwear for diabetes patients. How? How is that happening? I don't think it could happen if we kept our humanity. America has always been great because America is good. The people are good. But we're at a fork in the road. And I think it's time to decide. And we're here. Here's the fork in the road. We've always been united. We've always been walking down this road together. But somehow or another, we have started to split. And we're here. If this is the dark side of the path, you can still jump to the other side. But at some point, these are going to be so far apart, you're not even going to be able to see. I mean, how many times have you said, and I mean this left, right, I mean all of us, how many times has the left said about the right or the right about the left, I don't even understand you anymore? What's happened to us? Remember this theory I told you about? Mutually assured destruction. It was, we'll stop nuclear war by making sure that if Russia tries to wipe us out, we can wipe them out, and then nobody wins. It mutated into mutually assured economic destruction. Nobody will actually fight a real war because if we wipe Russia out or Russia wipes us up, the entire world goes down economically. That was the plan to stop World War III. These two, mutually assured destruction, mutually assured economic destruction. But there is something else happening in our country. The world is coming apart. It is coming undone. It is sliding into the abyss. And we are too. If you want to save yourself from mutually assured economic destruction, you spit yourself out of the system. You unplug from the system, and you won't be destroyed. The only thing with this theory that beats it, this is 1962, the only thing that beats it is an unflagged nomadic culture. Sounds like Al-Qaeda, doesn't it? Well, if you want to spit yourself out of the system, you've got to be nomadic, unflagged. You're not for the Republicans or the Democrats. You're for right or wrong. It's easy to see the road now. But it's amazing to me how many people won't see it. I read another story. This one comes from Michigan. It's about a 7-year-old girl that is being taunted by neighbors. I want to show you this. Here's a 7-year-old girl. Look how sweet she is. She's being taunted because of an argument the two families are having. Photos of the little girl who is battling Huntington disease have now surfaced on the internet. One depicts the girl's mom, who died of the same disease, in the arms of the Grim Reaper. Look at this. The other photo features the little girl with her face above a set of crossbones. What neighbors would do this? What human being would do this to a 7-year-old girl? Well, it all started 2 years ago. The families had a falling out at a birthday party. One family hosted a party with a bounce house, and the other texted, asked if they could bring their kids over too. Well, the response didn't, quote, come fast enough, end quote. And it started a fight. That's it. And it has gone, show that picture again of mom with the Grim Reaper. It's gone to this extreme. How? Now, I know you wouldn't stoop to this level, but you notice that the fight didn't start there. It started out small. It started with a simple mistake. It starts with a little wedge, and then it just is pushed farther and farther apart. It's hard when it starts with our mistakes. But if we are going to avoid nightmares down the road, we have to change. We have to be the ones. Let me tell you a story that happened to me about 2 years ago with a very good friend of mine. I've introduced you to him a couple of times before. His name is John Huntsman. John Huntsman is the best man I've ever met. John Huntsman Sr. There was something that had happened, and it was my fault. I said something unthinkingly, and it hurt him, and it hurt his family. And then I thought I better call and apologize, but the old alcoholic Glenn started in, and I didn't apologize. I avoided it. I thought maybe he'll just forget about it, maybe it'll just go away. It didn't. John is an honorable man. About 4 days later, I get a handwritten letter from him that says, Glenn, how could you do that? How could you say those things and then not call me? I called him up immediately and I apologized, and I was so upset, and I said, John, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking, and then I avoided it, hoping that it would go away. He accepted my apology, but it was pretty cold. He accepted my apology and hung up the phone. I called and tried to make amends on all the people around, thinking I would never speak to him again because he would never forgive me, even though he said on the phone, I forgive you. The next day, I was devastated. And John called me, and he said, as I picked up the phone, how's my dear friend? And I said, John, I'm not doing well, and I'm sorry. I am so sorry. He stopped me in the middle. He said, Glenn, I found two things. One, great men never hold on to grudges. Great men, when somebody asks for their forgiveness, they forgive them and they let it go. He said, but I also learned something else. Great men apologize, try to make it right, and let it go themselves. Live your truth. Face the truth.